Welcome aboard. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt. The Modern Travel Agent podcast starts now.
Thank you for joining us on the Modern Travel Agent podcast. My name is Chris Dehner, and I'm joined by my co-host and less charismatic brother, Tim Evans. We've created this podcast to help grow and strengthen the travel agent community. So all that we ask is that if you find any value from this podcast, that you share it with a friend in the industry. On this episode, we discuss a little bit about ourselves, how we got into the industry, and some lessons that we've learned over the past 14 years. We recorded this episode prior to the January 12th announcement by the CDC regarding their new COVID testing policies. In order to help travel agents, we've created a webpage detailing the COVID testing policies and guidelines for some of the most popular resort brands, and you can find the link below in the episode show notes.
This episode is sponsored by Palladium Hotel Group. Palladium Hotel Group is reinforcing its commitment to guest safety by offering free medical assistance insurance. Guests staying at select Palladium properties in the Americas will be insured with guaranteed services for any incident directly related to COVID-19 that may arise during their stay. Guests will automatically be insured from the moment they arrive at any of the select hotels until their checkout. Travel with confidence, Palladium has you covered. So without further ado, this is episode 1 of the Modern Travel Agent podcast.
So to get us started, Tim, would you share a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry?
Yes, thank you so much for that nice intro. We're going to do the origin story here.
I like it.
So my name's Tim Evans, the owner of Modern Travelworks in Houston, Texas. Born and raised Houstonian. Growing up, we didn't travel very often. The travel that we did do was for competitive soccer. I played soccer growing up. So we would go to tournaments throughout the state, Florida, Oklahoma. And, we're a middle-class family, did not have the money to fly, whereas most of the people on the team would fly, we would drive. So we did a lot of road trips, and I have fond memories of checking into the hotels and exploring as a child and going to the ice machine. And it was really just good times. I never thought that I would work in the industry, but fast forward to college graduation, and I had a friend who was working at a large agency in Houston. And so I applied and got the job there, and really learned about the industry there, worked there for 3 years, but decided that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create something in my own. So I started my agency in 2006. And we've been growing ever since.
Yeah, I remember on the long road trip, specifically the one to Florida. I think it was like 20 hours or something in the car. We're listening to Dad's oldies, and I was playing Game Boy in the back.
Yes,
some good times. But yeah, as you said, we didn't fly a lot. We didn't go on vacation. So the first time that I actually left the country, I was 21, and I was off of college. I was kind of going through a rough time, and we went to Cozumel, and it was such a cool experience because I remember sort of just this crystallizing moment of like, there is so much out there. There's just so much opportunity. There's just so much fun stuff to do. There's so many incredible experiences, and it was really, really good to sort of shift my perspective into a place where I wasn't, the happiest, to like, oh, why am I so upset? Like, there's nothing but opportunity in the world. So it was a profound moment for me, and something that certainly has impacted me in my view of travel. And then of course I've finished college, graduated Texas State, and that was, I guess, 2009, and that was right around the time that the business was scaling, and so I joined the team with you and Mom, the dangerous trio. So and then we've sort of been doing that since. But that was really when I found my love for travel was when I first left the country.
Absolutely. We went on. It was a charter deal to Cozumel, Malia Cozumel. I think it was $400 for 3 nights, all inclusive, including airfare. Yeah. But you came into the industry when you were 24. Now 11 years later, what advice would you give to someone coming into the industry in their early 20s, or someone who is thinking about coming into the industry?
Yeah, I think my advice honestly would be the same, whether they're younger or they're older, which is, number one, figure out what part of the industry you want to join. Do you want to work at a wholesaler? Do you want to work with a hotel? Do you want to work at a tour operator, transfer company? Do you want to work at a travel agency? If you want to be a travel agent, there's a few different routes you can go. My recommendation would be find a way to learn from travel agents that are already doing it. So you can join an existing travel agency and see their process. What's their back office system? How do they stay organized? What's their process for obtaining clients, of working with clients? How do the agents talk to their clients, right? Like, how do they create value for them? Basically learn as much as you can from the business and from the agents there. And if you prefer, let's say, to not do that, maybe just start your own agency, then I would recommend that you start going to industry events. There's tons of them put on by wholesalers or hotels or even tourism boards, where you can build relationships with travel agents, and then you can learn from them and sort of, if not to find a mentor, but find people that you can learn from, so that you don't have to start from scratch, because it helps a lot when you can kind of take something that somebody is doing and add on to it and sort of put your own spin on it, than just creating everything from scratch.
I think the point you made about industry events is very important. Getting out there and networking with people, and just learning from other agents is really important to grow as an agent.
It's also easy too. I mean, like I'm a introverted person, so I know that I'm not the type that loves those types of network. The idea of networking sounds horrible to me, but but it's not. A lot of times, it's like, especially depending on what city you're in. A lot of times, you have the same agents that have been in the industry for a long time, and they have all these relationships, and so you can kind of just hop in, and a lot of them are just welcoming, and you can just chat them up. It's not this sort of awkward, here's my business card, here's your. So I think that helps a lot, is that, the agents kind of make it easy to build relationships with them.
Absolutely. I think we're lucky in Houston too. I can't speak for any other regions, but we have just an amazing group of agents that want each other to be successful. So it's a special area for sure.
It's actually December 31st right now, the last day of 2020. And it's been a year. It's been a wild year. And so the question I have for you, Tim, is what has been the most challenging part of this year of 2020?
That is a great question.
It is a great question.
My dad has these old country sayings, and one of them that he would always say to me is, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? And that's how I feel that 2020 has been. Just the constant change and the constant battle, just scraping and trying to do the best that we can and to push forward. Probably the most difficult part, besides just dealing with everything, with travel, with customers, with the team, with business. It's been hard to see all of the people that I've grown with and I've developed relationships in the industry, that they're no longer with the company. So people that, I've known for 10 plus years, they're just out of a job, and they've been with that company for 10 plus years, 5 years, 7 years. So that's been difficult, because once you get travel in your veins, it's hard to do something else. So I believe that these people will find a landing spot once the dust settles, but that's been pretty difficult, difficult to watch and see. For you, Chris, how do you think this year will reshape the travel industry moving forward?
Yeah, it is. As you mentioned, it's been brutal. I think what I'm interested to see is you have sort of this weird this weird situation where at the top there's a lot of consolidation, but then there's also a lot of segmentation at the bottom. So it's like at the top you have these huge companies, Apple Leisure Group, right, which represents all these different brands, and it's like FunJet and Apple Vacations and Travel Impressions, and then they operate United Vacations and Southwest Vacations, and then you have Expedia, who of course has Expedia and Travelocity and Cheap Tickets and Orbitz and I think Classic Vacations too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like you have this sort of consolidation, but then on the individual level, you have a lot of independent agents, especially with everything that's going on. You have a lot of agents who are kind of either splitting off or doing their own thing, and they're kind of going really niche, really focused. So instead of just booking like all-inclusive vacations to Mexico, they're booking luxury, honeymoons to Los Cabos and Puerto Vallarta, and like so it's just interesting to see these two things happening at the same time, where you have consolidation, but then you have sort of all these independent agents who are building their brands, and then kind of also realizing that you can build a successful business off of 50 to 100 loyal customers. You don't need this huge book of business. You don't need 1 million people. If you just have a great relationship with these people who are traveling once, twice a year, and they come to you because they trust you, then you can be very successful in that space. And so I think we're going to continue to see that. More agents realize that and kind of lean into that personal branding and that 100 loyal customers or 1,000 loyal customers, your tribe, I think, as the saying goes. But so that's been interesting to watch. What do you think about that, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. It's starting off, I would do everything under the sun that I could get my hands on as far as travel. We would do condos to Florida, Las Vegas, California, San Antonio. And you spread yourself pretty thin, and you can't be knowledgeable on everything. So when we kind of found Destination Weddings, I had a friend who reached out for a wedding and asked if I could do it, and looked into the market and saw the opportunity there. That's kind of how we discovered that niche. So yeah, I think that if you can find your niche and really focus in on that, and like you said, find your tribe, I think that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I remember early on, you just do anything you can because you just want any customer you can, right? So it's like, you book that, $200 condo in Florida, and then it's like hoping that they want, an all-inclusive vacation to Mexico next year or something like that. And you can definitely scale your business like that. But as you said, you're not going to be an expert in everything. So there's a lot of value to just focusing and narrowing. You can't always do that initially, but eventually, once you build a book of business and you get clients, to be very specific.
Oh, absolutely. I remember with the condo lead, they asked me, do you do Florida? And I never really done it before, but I was like, absolutely I can. What are you looking to go? So then I had to learn how to sell Florida, and that stuff takes time. So I think just honing in again, it's so important.
This year has been really rough on business owners, but even before this year, there's something that entrepreneurs and business owners experience, which is this sense of loneliness as you're growing your business. The sense of like it's all on your shoulders. Everybody's looking to you to make the decisions. Everybody's relying on you, and it can a lot of entrepreneurs talk about this sense of loneliness and how hard it is to deal with. And so that's something that I wanted to ask, because for a lot of either independent agents who are growing their own businesses, they might be experiencing this, or people who are interested in starting their own agency. This is something that they're going to have to deal with. So what has been how have you dealt with that? And what would you tell some of these people that are going to experience that similar sense of loneliness and stress from being the business owner entrepreneur?
That's a great question. It is challenging. And I'm very, very lucky to have an amazing wife who is also business minded. And so we talk a lot about just different aspects of business, which is amazing. Also lucky again to have a team who I can talk to them about, and just different aspects of leadership and whatnot. But if you don't have something like that, I suggest trying to find a friend, trying to find a mentor. You say, well, how do I find a mentor? It comes from networking. Whether these industry events, I know there really haven't been that many in 2020, but moving forward, there will be more events. The Ascend conference by ALG is fantastic to go there and just meet other agents and form those relationships with the agents as well as the hotels, as the BDMs. Ask questions. I don't think enough people ask questions. So ask tons of questions and learn and try to soak up as much information that you can. If you think you have it figured out, you've lost. You always have to continue to learn. So yeah, I just think just try to reach out and connect with those people. You're not gonna be able to do it by not going out, by not connecting. So what are the three most important things, in your opinion, to being a great travel agent?
Number one is stay organized. You don't have to be an organized person. You just have to have the ability to stay organized. And this is something that I figured out, because I am by no means an organized person, but I found a system that allowed me to organize a million different moving pieces, because that's ultimately what being a travel agent is. You have, these people who want updated quotes, and you have people who want to make changes to the reservation. You have people calling in, they have questions on quotes, or they want to make bookings. You have somebody who's in destination and they're experiencing a travel emergency, and you have these emails coming in, and it's like you have to manage all of these different things at once.
Oh man, hey, you're giving me anxiety. You're giving me anxiety right now.
Believe me, it's like Vietnam flashbacks. It's intense, it's intense. So it's like having that system that allows you to stay organized and calm. When those things come in, you can just say, okay, here's another thing. Where does this go on this sense of like, does this need to be done in the next hour, the next 4 hours, the next 8 hours, the next 24 hours? And you have sort of a system that helps you rank and stay organized. So once again, you don't have to be an organized person. You just have to develop a system that allows you to stay organized. I would say an important thing of being a travel agent would be communication. Your ability to, when people talk about communication, they think about talking. But of course, all being a travel agent is essentially is listening, right? It's the ability to listen to them and ask the right questions so that you can get to, the need behind the need. So if they want to go on a vacation because they need a break from work, you need to figure out what that means, right? Does that mean a break from work, they're working long shifts and they're running around, and so a break from work means they want to lay on a beach with a mojito? Or does a break from work mean that they sit all day at a desk and it's so boring and mundane that they need a break from that? And that means doing, zip lining and horseback riding and all types of madness, So it's like, it just depends on what they really want and what's really driving their desire, and you're not going to figure that out unless you know how to communicate, unless you know how to listen, unless you know how to ask the right questions, which you mentioned earlier. The importance, I think, is to reiterate the importance of asking questions, not just to other agents, but to your customers, and to really know how to figure that out. So, that's a big part. And I think this is probably the most important, but follow through. Like, there's no easier way to gain somebody's trust than to tell them you're going to do something and then to do it. And similarly, there's no easier way to lose somebody's trust than to say you're going to do something and not do it. And a lot of times you only have one opportunity to lose it. So that means if you tell somebody that you're going to get back to them, you're going to call them at a time, you're going to send over a quote by a time, you're going to, whatever it is, you better follow through with that. Or if you can't, you just have to let them know. You just have to update them. You don't let the uncertainty build anxiety, and then they start building this story in their head where they're thinking, oh, he doesn't value my business, he doesn't care about me, he probably forgot about me. He's going to think, oh, now I know, I just got an email from him, he's on a call for a travel emergency, he's working on it, he's going to send it over in the next hour or the next 2 hours, or whatever it is. It's basically just a way to manage expectations consistently. And you talk about the sundown rule, right? That's what I learned from you. Can you talk a little bit about that, man?
Yeah, no, it's just something that we do at Modern. It's called the sundown rule, and you just need to tie up all your loose ends before the end of the day. So communicating, like you said, with the customer, even if you don't have the information for them, touching base with them. Hey, I put in the request for the hotel, still waiting for them to get back to me. Just want to let you know, I'll update you within 24 hours. I'll update you within 48 hours. But it's also important to not, overpromise, underdeliver. Like you mentioned earlier, you have to set yourself up for success. So it's the exact opposite: under promise, over deliver. If you think you can get to the quote to somebody and that day, you tell them you'll have it in 24 hours. Just that simple wording will change their perception of how important they are to you. So you mentioned those are all three really great things, Chris. Thank you for sharing. I know you're a big reader. Love just books in general. Do you have any books that you recommend on either staying organized, communication, selling, setting expectations?
Yeah, so I remember reading Inside Selling. I can't remember the name of the author.
Great book.
But that was a really good book to help me understand the importance of sort of a collaborative process of sales, where it's basically positioning you and your client on the same team, working together towards a common goal, and that can build loyalty. So I think that's really good on that end. Actually, one of the best pieces of advice I have for communication, and this sounds weird, but I've been practicing it for like 10 years, but it's just repetition. It's just practicing, right? So a lot of times people get self-conscious about like talking to themselves because, if you're on a bus and somebody's talking to themselves, you're like, you're sliding away from that person. But like, I think that there's value in having an exercise, whether you do it, like I do it for introspection. If I'm thinking about my day or like, what do I want to accomplish or whatever, I just do it out loud and I pretend as if somebody's interviewing me. So I say, Chris, what do you want to accomplish today and why? And I just try to answer it verbally. And so it's this practice of communicating. And you can do it with anything. I mean, for instance, if you want to become a better travel agent, you can think of all the questions that you're going to get and you practice your pitch. So if somebody says, why should I use your services? Why should I book with you? What happens if a hurricane comes? You can practice all of those things so that you don't have to just in the moment figure it out. It's already like done. You already know that play. You already know the words you're going to use. And I think that helps a lot with communication, because once you do that, then you're able to be present because you're not thinking so hard about like you already know what you're going to say. You already know the core of it. So then you can really hone in on what they're saying, because you're not thinking about what you have to say next because you already have it down. So I know that's a little weird, but I do think, yeah, I mean, it's a way of practicing that. So what about you, man? I know that you're a big podcast guy, big reader. Is there anything that you've come across? And I know you talked about, you're big on that time blocking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said Inside Selling. I think that is a great book. We'll find out the author and we'll put it in the show notes. But he talks about the need behind the need in that book, which essentially what you're trying to do is dig even more and not just ask the simple questions, but continue to dig to find that need behind the need. So that's a great one. Me personally, I love an app to stay organized. It's called Sunsama. And it plugs into Google Calendar, and it allows you to time block. I'm big on time blocking. Time blocking is essentially where you set you have a set amount of time for a specific task. For instance, I'm going to do quotes from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you can put that in your calendar, you schedule it in there, and you try to, complete that within that time period. And it really allows you to attack your day and plan out your day rather than being passive and just waking up and opening your emails and saying, oh, what am I going to do today? So you can really plan out your week. And it's called Sunsama. It's an amazing tool. So I highly recommend that. You do have to have a Gmail account for it, but it allows you to put tasks in there, drag them around, and it's a great piece of software.
The time blocking, man.
I love it.
Works. Yeah, you don't get caught up in the whirlwind, which it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind.
Yeah, for sure.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, man, is, you constantly talk about, the company culture, and a big thing that you believe in is leadership by inspiring growth, right? And really kind of wanting for your team to build themselves up to be the best version of themselves, and to help them not just in areas of business, but in personal areas and family areas, and whatever's important to them, to help them progress and constantly evolve and become better. And that's like a big core value of the company too. And so I wanted to ask, what part of your personality, what part of your sort of innate wiring have you had to like work to overcome or to improve in order to be successful? Because that's, I think, what a lot of us deal with, right? Is this sense of, that's why I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be an organized person. You just have to be able to be organized.
Yeah.
You have to sort of figure out ways. So what is something that you've had to evolve and grow and work on?
Naturally, I don't like the spotlight to be on me. I prefer to kind of, I like to watch. I like to observe. I'm a man of action, so I love taking action. But it's still like talking about myself. Like this is something that I have to get psyched up for, to talk about myself, because I just don't like that. Public speaking, of course, I know that it's difficult for a lot of people, but still get super anxious about public speaking. So just thinking back, I mean, I remember it was one of my first events to where I traveled somewhere. When our agency started doing well, I traveled somewhere with my wife to an event, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but got to meet some different hoteliers, and I was introduced to general manager of a hotel, and in the introduction, they're like, share a little bit about what you do. And I didn't have my pitch together. I didn't have my elevator pitch of what I'm about, and I froze. And I'll never forget that moment because it was very embarrassing for me. But it's something that I've had to practice. Like you said earlier, talking out loud to yourself. It's something that I had to put a lot of time in and develop, talking about myself, talking about my company. Sometimes there's just natural salespeople. There's people that, wind them up and they can talk all day. That's not who I am, which that's fine. I have my strengths, so that's something that I've had to really push myself in overcoming. So like you mentioned, it's December 31st, the end of the craziest year that we have ever experienced. I mean, I think it'll be even crazier once we look back at the end of next year and think about everything that we went through, all the changes. There've been a lot of negativity this year, but we try to look at the positive. What are you most excited about for 2021 and beyond for the future of the travel industry?
I mean, it'd be great if people are like able to travel again. That would be that would be sweet. That would be swell. It's really good it's kind of important for the travel industry.
That would be
and feel comfortable. No, I mean, it's been a wild year. Honestly, I'm looking forward to being able to go to those events again, go to the Ascend conference, to be around other agents, be around industry professionals, be around, it's one big thing that sets the travel industry apart, is that there's just such awesome people, and it's not like this hyper competitive. You have people from quote unquote competing agencies and brands and stuff, and everybody's there's sort of this abundance mindset. There's enough for everybody. And so everybody's there to spend time and to learn from one another and to grow. And so I'm really looking forward to that sort of getting back in full swing. I'm hoping that, the vaccine rolls out, eases some discomfort that people have and concerns about travel, so that, people can begin to sort of get back to that normal place where, I know there's a lot of people who want to travel, but they're not comfortable yet. They're not there. And so I think a lot's going to change in the next 6 to 12 months. And so I'm interested also the way that Zoom and sort of this wireless networking and thing is going to affect the industry too, because I think some agents might even start interacting with clients. I know that we've done it, having like Zoom calls with wedding couples and stuff, and using technology to like the max, right? Something that you wouldn't necessarily have thought about before, but because of everything that's happened in lockdown, it's like, oh, wait, we've been doing Zoom calls. Why don't we just have Zoom calls with our clients? So I'm excited to see the way that technology continues to strengthen the relationship between agents and their customers, and how they can use it to create competitive advantages and build connections. And interested to see the way apps continue to play a role in smart technology at resorts. I mean, people are going to eventually, you're going to be able to do everything from your phone or from the iPad. It's there's so much to be excited for in the future of the travel industry that, I'm ready just for it to kind of get back to normal and continue. What about you, man? What are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be a renaissance. I mean, I guess you can't really go any lower. Knock on wood, please. You can't go any lower. But I do think that there's going to be a renaissance in the travel of people just wanting to get out, wanting to experience, wanting to see just different cultures. So I am very, very positive about the future. And I'm ready for all of this to be behind us and just move forward.
2021.
2021. Hey, it's not going to happen. It's not like 2021 comes, there's going to be a flip of a switch. But I think having the vaccine out and just people feeling more confident about traveling. But there's going to be issues. Every year there's something.
That's what we're also going to have to deal with. That the media is going to, it's like you're going to have a new strain of coronavirus that the vaccine might not protect you against. There's going to be a lot of new stuff like that.
There will always be something. There will always going to be something. But I believe in this industry. I believe in travel agents being an important part of the industry. And as you said, as more of these companies get bigger and bigger, they get farther and further away from the customer. And I think that's where we come in as agents and be able to connect on a personal level with the customers. And so people think travel agents are dead. No, they're not. They're just not on every corner like they used to be. It's just different, but by no means are travel agents dead. And I think that they
offer a different type of value, right? You have to, people aren't phoning you up to book that airfare ticket that they can't do themselves. It's like you need knowledge, you need experience, you need the personality, you need to offer something different and above that makes it not just transactional. But there's so much opportunity to do that now. I mean, you can tell your clients, if you're traveling to visit a property, to follow you on Instagram, to follow you on Facebook. They can see the pictures. They can understand how much you see the properties and how much knowledge and experience you have and the relationships that you've built. It's constant, it's changing, right? But there's tons of opportunities still. It's gonna be a good year.
I think so. Well, podcast episode number 1 in the books. Thank you, Christopher. Even though you took a jab at me, in the beginning, sometimes you just got to let your kid brother have the spotlight,
Yeah.